So we call it a silence epidemic, really, because it's one of those experiences that happen and we know it occurs. However, there's a struggle and a challenge finding out the real numbers and the stats because people do not feel comfortable talking about the uncomfortable topics, though it's a very important one, of course. And I wouldn't be surprised to know if the numbers are quite high or that it's on the rise in various ways because of the growing number of older people and the various factors that really, I guess, enhance the likelihood of it happening as well.
For sure. I think it's a very complex topic to discuss. It involves family members, it involves the general public, it involves different cultures and different types of abuse too. Do you want to just chat with us about what are the different types of elder abuse?
Yeah, I also wanted to emphasize that love and harm can actually coexist together, and that's the unfortunate
hmm
reality. And there is absolutely no excuse for mistreating or abusing or neglecting any person, let alone an older adult. Yet sometimes there's an overlap between stress and abuse or mistreatment sometimes. Though, again, I don't want to say that all stressed people will abuse older adults, but this the whole idea of stress and lack of support and lack of resources and sometimes really just lack of knowledge about what's out there can lead to burnout, but also can lead to behavior that can be very detrimental to the older person. And when it comes to elder abuse in particular, we're actually now currently calling it the mistreatment of older people, according to the reports from the Government of Canada, but also the World Health Organization as well. And the reason behind that is because the term elder abuse in itself is quite a scary term and a word that really at times prevents conversations from moving forward. And so calling it the mistreatment of older people, we're not really sugarcoating it, but we're trying to encompass all things that could lead to the mistreatment of an older person, whether it's intentional or unintentional, and the
hmm
variety of kinds of elder abuse that could really happen. But, elder abuse is a term that we could still use. It's one that people identify with in particular. I mean, the narrative sometimes really has to adapt and change to the needs of the population that you're talking to.
hmm For sure. So mistreatment of elders, I think it's a pretty broad term. And I actually really like that they've changed it because of the negative connotations that come with the term abuse and, relating abuse to family and how I can definitely see how that would stall out conversations when you start broaching that. As a health professional, it becomes very scary when people start talking about abuse and what are the repercussions of that. So I think, the mistreatment, I definitely like how broad that can be because we definitely think of abuse as physical harm, right? But, there's many different types of mistreatment of elder people in our community.
100%. I think when people hear elder abuse, they immediately think physical abuse. And that is the most um, obvious, I guess, when you're looking at it. Yet, in fact, what we're finding from stats currently is that there are other forms of older adult mistreatment, the more hidden and subtle ones,
Right.
such as financial abuse and emotional and psychological abuse as well. So those are the two kinds of abuse that actually, since 2020 during COVID lockdowns seem to be on the rise. Again, it's because it's not the typical kind of abuse that we think about, such as physical, where you might see signs of physical, um, um, I guess, mistreatment of an older person in a sense of bruises or cuts, etc. You're thinking more about what are the things that we can't see yet the person could be actually to be taken advantage of, their finances, their bank accounts. Unless you actually have access to those things, you won't be sometimes able to see that yet. If you see the person being neglected in terms of how, are they clothed properly? Are they fed? Do they look like they're losing weight? Purchasing food, for example, or knowing that they have a particular income, yet they don't seem to be living the life based on that income. In fact, a lower standard of living. And so those are the things that are subtle. And then, of course, the emotional component, psychological component. Do they look uncomfortable in the presence of a particular person? Do they seem more, not at ease or a bit anxious or hesitant to talk or not lifting their eyes or, other body language signs that sometimes could be could be an indicator that a person is not doing well in the presence of that particular individual. And so those are the things that I think it's also very important for us to think about. It's not just the things that we see, it's the other subtle things that we don't see that could be an indicator that the person is being mistreated.